About 5:45 a.m. and I'm getting out the door for my drive to work. So let's go ahead and do the numbers. I teach in Eben Junction, Michigan, which is in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And before we get there, let's talk about the rest of my day. So I typically roll in the building about 7 a.m. My first class walks through the door at about 9 a.m. And those 2 hours are prep. And those might be me plowing out our sawmill. Those might be me responding to emails, ordering materials, preparing the lessons for the day. But there is simply never enough time for any teacher in today's world. But at about 9 a.m., my first class rolls through the door, and that is 7th graders. And these students are learning the basics of how to sort of work in a shop. This year's project is a simple end table, and for this, the students have created a set of working blueprints. They've learned how to measure and mark. They've learned how to take rough sawn lumber and break it down and fabricate it into an actual finished product that you see here in this video. Moving on to third hour, this is a big class for me. This is 25 students, and this is Introduction to Welding and Small Engines. So these students are learning, once again, plan reading, measurement, different types of steel. They start with stick welding, SMAW, and by the end of the semester, they are moving through into MIG welding. The final quarter, we are going through and we are learning about small engines. They tear down a small engine and completely rebuild it. Additionally, I also do some sort of basic car care with the average stuff that a person should know, such as how to change a tire, where is your dipstick. Super, super simple stuff, as many of these students will soon be hitting the roads as drivers. My next class is actually a double block class, and this is typically juniors, seniors. This is their capstone. And this particular class is called Construction Tech. And this class learns, for one, how to work outside in whether it's rain, whether it's snow, and they learn how to sort of overcome adversity. This year's project, which is part of it, is a 24 by 24 timber frame shop garage, which will allow us to work sort of year round on larger scale projects and not be fighting for welding space or fighting for space from the other classes. And in this particular class, they go through, they estimate the materials, they call various suppliers for concrete, they call steel suppliers, everything else, and they are directly responsible for playing project manager in a sense. I guide them through that process. Additionally, they learn how to work as a team.
Guys, ready? Up on three. Three. Mama, lift it up. I'm lifting. It's frozen to it, probably. Oh. Marcus, what are you doing?
Marcus, pick it up.
Going down. A lot of these things that they're moving around are literally hundreds of pounds, and if they try to move them themselves, it is just physically not possible. So that's an important part of the project. And the final piece of this particular project is simply accountability. If they happen to cut a piece wrong, their piece will not fit into their neighbor's piece, and they need to own up to those mistakes and recut the piece or figure out a creative solution to maybe salvage that particular timber. And the last thing is adversity. It's not an easy class. I had half of the students drop that semester because, like I said, I expect them to show up, I expect them to work hard, and I expect them to generally be in a pretty positive mood when they're doing it. My last two classes of the day are residential construction, and these students go through and they learn foundation to finish. Beginning of the year, we stake out batter boards. We, if we're lucky, pour a slab, and this year we poured a 7-foot by 30-foot by 8-inch thick sawmill slab. After they go through foundations, we frame up a simple pony wall, and they pull electrical through that pony wall. They learn about cripples, they learn about headers, they learn about three-way switches. They all wire in a simple breaker. Once everything has been completed in the electrical, plumbing, and framing department, then we go through and we start hanging drywall, which is my least favorite unit because we happen to be doing this in the hallway because that's the only space that we have available for a project of this size. So they mud, they tape a couple joints, they patch a couple holes, and then we tear it all apart. And for finished carpentry, they actually recycle all of the framing lumber into a simple picture frame or a mirror with 4 sort of mitered corners. Finally, thank you for the award. A couple ways that you can support programs like mine and others across the state. First thing I want you to think about is sort of job site overages. If you have overages of steel, if you have overages of lumber, feel free to call a shop teacher like myself and say, hey, I have, I don't know, 10 sheets of plywood, do you want it? And in most cases, we'll take it, and that will sort of help offset our material budget. Second thing, money's always good. If you have extra money laying around, which nobody does these days. The third thing I'd like you to think about is donating your time. Occasionally during the year, for example, when we set trusses or when we're tipping up walls, I would love to have a list of competent carpenters or competent adults that could come in and volunteer. And that does two things. One, it introduces you to our program. The second thing is it introduces you to maybe a potential summer laborer. You would be able to look around the classroom and say, yep, this guy's good, or yep, that gal's good, and sort of cherry pick them. The third thing that I want you to think of is kind of grim. When you kick the bucket, think about what's going to happen to all those tools that are in your shop. We had a local woodworker die, and basically his sons called me and said, hey, do you want all this stuff? And we literally got tens of thousands of dollars worth of stationary woodworking equipment, clamps, things like that. So once again, thank you so much. I hope you are enjoying the wonderful weather that Detroit has to offer. We're getting about 8 inches of snow, and maybe I'll see you next year. Cheers. Bye.